I'm going through a few ways to help with mastery of our side bend. So when I say side bend, it's this position where we're here on the side, we lift up, and eventually in Pilates, the side bend comes down to the floor and we lift up and we add a twist, all in one move. So this is what we're working towards. Commonly in class, we'll do something that's a bit more like this. So we're here, we open up. I always give you this option to do on the knee, but then there's also this option here where we lift up to the side. And what we're working when we do this is arms, shoulders, all these muscles down the side, we're twisting as well. So we're working in that twisting motion. Now I'm really conscious that for some of you, wrists are an issue. We really want to think about working the mobility in those wrists. So we're going to start with a little wrist warm up. So whenever you're going to do this, we'll start with this wrist warm up, coming round in a circle and round the other way. So you know these ones. And then we can also get those hands coming out to the sides. We just gently come forwards and backwards. And then we're going to turn those hands in as well. So quite often that discomfort around the wrist comes from the fact that we're just not used to having that range of movement in the wrists. We might be used to being in this position a little bit more. So let's get started. And we're going to start with this push away from the floor. So you're going to push the hands in, feel those shoulders round, and then allow the back to come down. And we're going to do 3 just like that, where we open up through your shoulders and drop. Notice I'm not doing a big cat stretch here. I'm really focusing on the shoulders. You can add that here. So you come to your hover position, and again, push away from the floor and lower. So when I say in class, how you're trying to push away from the floor, this is the feeling that I want you to get. In and lower. So these moves, dominant on the shoulders and on these muscles around the ribs. So that's how you start to get that movement in the shoulder. The shoulder girdle is shoulders, chest, all around here and all around the ribs. And remember, you've got these muscles around the ribs that we want to work. So they're your first 2 exercises to get you started. Then we want to think about the movement and where we're going to end up. So from your hands and knees, come up to the side. This is your next practice. The hand's going to stay put. This foot's going to come behind the knee. The arm's going to lift up. You want to make sure the foot is right behind the knee so that you can feel your bottom working. And then watch out what happens to those ribs. We don't want them flaring forwards. As soon as they flare forwards, you've lost all of that core control. So we want to rein it in, which is why I often set it up from this position. So you can really feel you push into this hand, open up to the side, and then come back down. And I just want you to do 3 on each side, getting used to that. And same in the other side, come up, come back down, push, come back down, push, and come back down. So you get used to that position. Now, something else we can do here, if you bring your fingertips, let me come a bit closer, behind your ears, let your hips come under, and then get used to this transition coming from side to side. Now, this isn't so much about your hand and your ribs. This is just about getting your spine used to this sideways movement, your core used to that sideways movement. So we come over and come back in. So all kind of getting your nervous system familiar with the moves. Let's move on. Next exercise. So when it comes to transitioning from your plank to your side plank, which is how I like to set it up. So we come from here, we push into the floor, we twist up to the side. Now this is one of our first sticking points. People struggling to find that position. So here's a little exercise to get used to before you get to that point. Let your feet come out behind you. And I want you to just twist as if you were coming to that position. We come over and back. Now, if you've come up here and piked, notice what happens. It's kind of hard to do that. And that's why when you try to come from there over to your side, you're like, where am I supposed to be? So what I want you to feel, come back down to your knees, set up again for me. Let your feet come out and then twist and twist. And your focus is trying to keep those hips aligned so we don't start poking those hips up to the ceiling. So that is a really important exercise if you are someone that struggles with that transition from hands up to side. The next thing I want you to do if you've mastered that one. So this is about mastery now. Come from here and then twist to the side, but I want you to think the energy comes from there. I'm going to push through that hand to lift up and then come back down. Push away from the floor. We're going to twist. We push through that hand to lift up and then we come back down and in. This is easier with bare feet and with a sticky mat that's not going to stretch away from you. And we twist up and come back down. Now, any issues with wrists, if all of that feels too much, there's still exercises that we can do. You can come down onto your forearms. And I want you to come to this position where your arms are across each other. The only thing when you're on your elbows, it's much easier to get the little hoochie back. So you want to send your tail down to your heels. Push into all of your forearm. And exactly the same now, we're going to squeeze your thighs together. Start to twist one side, other side, and twist. If you can feel those obliques working quite strongly, you are in the right ballpark. And then you can start, push into your forearm, lift up, come down. Push into your forearm, lift up, come down. Push in, lift up, come down. Push in, lift up, come down. And then to finish off, a little stretch. Come in and just ease over to the side. So have a go with those progressions. That's going to start to build that strength and confidence and movement so that we can come into those side bends. Just come over and over.